Welcome back to the deep dive. Chances are, if you're listening to us right now, you're doing it through the very device we're, well, diving into today, the smartphone.
It really is the ultimate modern paradox, isn't it?
Totally. It holds our friends, our work, entertainment, everything we think we value. And yet, the research we've dug into today paints a pretty stark picture. It can be an insidious drain on our actual well-being.
Exactly. And that's why this deep dive feels so crucial. We want to move past that vague feeling, oh, I use my phone too much.
Right.
We need to get into the specifics, the actual mechanics of the damage.
Mm-hmm.
We've looked at a stack of sources, really solid stuff, defining the core risks, health, cognitive, even relational.
And importantly, not just the problems. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
More importantly, we're pulling out immediate, high-impact fixes, things you can actually start doing like this week.
Okay, so where do we start? Because the sheer scale of the time drain, some of the statistics the researchers found are genuinely sobering.
They really are. If you average it out across populations, the daily usage figure comes in around 4 hours and 37 minutes. Every single
That's
day.
437. That's almost half a workday every single day just on the phone.
Yeah, and it gets worse when you extrapolate that.
Right, over a lifetime.
Exactly. If you translate that daily habit into a lifetime commitment, the cost is just staggering. The research calculates it out to 70 full days every single year spent on your device.
70 days a year.
70 days. Which means, over a typical adult lifespan, that adds up to 14 years.
14 years.
13 years. We really need to let that sink in for a moment.
Yeah.
14 years of your conscious attention, just dedicated to scrolling, tapping, viewing a screen.
Wow, I mean, 14 years is enough time to get multiple degrees or master an instrument or, raise a family.
Easily. And the most alarming part, it's not an accident. It's not your lack of willpower necessarily.
Yeah.
It's engineered.
That's where that provocative analogy comes in from one of the analyses we read. They called phones digital fentanyl.
It's a harsh term, definitely. But it's grounded in the principles of behavioral psychology. These devices, the apps, the whole ecosystem, they're specifically engineered using techniques known to foster addiction.
Like the infinite scroll.
That's a perfect example. The infinite scroll removes any natural stopping point. There's no end of the page like there used to be. So it mimics a slot machine, always another potential reward, just out of sight.
And that taps into variable reinforcement schedules, right? Which is basically addiction 101.
Precisely. The notifications, the likes, the messages, they don't arrive predictably. You don't know when the next little dopamine hit is coming. So you keep checking compulsively, hoping for it.
It keeps you hooked.
Keeps the checking behavior alive, absolutely. And this digital assault, it's starting younger and younger. The studies we looked at show teenagers.
Yeah.
Teenagers whose brains are still developing crucial things like focus and impulse control are getting bombarded. We're talking over 200 notifications every 24 hours.
200 interruptions a day. That's just unsustainable. How can anyone focus?
They can't. It guarantees fragmented focus. It's what some researchers call a fragmentation crisis. It prevents anyone, adults included, from settling into deep concentration or even genuine rest. And it feeds that addictive loop constantly.
So the mission today is clear. We need to equip you, the listener, with the knowledge to fight back.
Right. We're going beyond just saying screen time is bad. We're diving into the specifics, the threats to your sleep, your posture, maybe even fertility, your hearing, relationships, safety.
And crucially, giving concrete, practical steps for each one.
Exactly. Small, consistent steps. Let's start with the immediate physical stuff, the toll this takes on the body.
Okay, physical toll. And let's start where so many of us end our day. In bed, phone in hand, maybe scrolling, trying to wind down. We kind of know it's bad, but why specifically?
Well, it's more invasive than just feeling a bit wired. The biology is pretty clear. It boils down to blue light and a nasty chemical reaction it triggers in your brain. We call it the double hit in the source material because the phone is doing two things at once, both undermining good sleep. First, that high-energy blue light directly suppresses melatonin.
Melatonin, the sleep hormone.
Exactly. That's the hormone your body uses to regulate your internal clock, your circadian rhythm. It tells your body, hey, it's nighttime, time to power down. Blue light basically crushes that signal. It confuses your body clock.
Okay, so that's hit number one. What's the second part of this double hit?
At the same time, that same blue light exposure actually raises your cortisol levels.
Cortisol, the stress hormone.
A primary stress hormone, yeah.
Yeah.
So think about it. Right when you're trying to relax and drift off, your phone is chemically blocking the sleep signal and actively pumping stress chemicals into your system.
Wow. So even if you feel like you fall asleep quickly after scrolling.
The research is really consistent here. Even if you nod off fast, your overall sleep quality of being it, the architecture, the balance of deep sleep and REM sleep takes a significant hit. It declines. You wake up less restored.
Now, most phones have settings like night shift or bed mode. Apple, Android, they all push these. How much do they actually help with this blue light problem?
They're definitely a step in the right direction. But our sources point out a key limitation. Night shift works by software adjustment. It makes the screen warmer, reducing the intensity of the blue light.
But it doesn't get rid of it completely.
Exactly. It reduces, but it doesn't eliminate that specific blue wavelength. So for really effective protection, especially in that crucial hour or two before bed, you need something more aggressive.
And that's where this more advanced fix comes in the red light mode. How does that work differently?
The key here is filtering out almost all the blue and even green wavelengths. Those are the main culprits for melatonin suppression. Red light, especially dim red light, is the least disruptive to our internal clock. Our eyes are just less sensitive to it in low light.
Okay, makes sense. So how do you actually do that? On an iPhone, for example.
Right, for iPhone users specifically, it's buried in the accessibility settings, which tells you something. You go to accessibility, the display and text size, then color filters. You turn color filters on, select color tint, and crank the intensity and hue all the way up to get a deep red screen.
Okay, that sounds like a bit of a hassle to do every single night.
But here's the crucial part for making it stick, the behavioral intervention. Once you've set that red tint up, you absolutely must assign it to the accessibility shortcut. Usually that's a triple tap of the side or home button.
So you can toggle it on and off instantly.
Instantly. Triple tap for red screen when you start winding down, triple tap for full color in the morning. It also adds this layer of, helpful friction. The screen is usable for, say, checking the time, but it's visually unappealing for mindless scrolling through Instagram.
Right. So if you get that urge to check something non-essential, you have to consciously triple tap off the red light first. It makes you pause and think.
Exactly. It forces a moment of mindfulness. Okay, so we've helped the brain hopefully get better sleep. Let's travel down the body to the neck and spine. Because that constant downward gaze, it's causing real chronic problems.
Yeah, the whole text neck phenomenon.
It's a real thing, and the physics are simple but brutal. We need to talk about what the sources call spinal math. When your head is balanced upright, nicely aligned, it puts about 10 to 12 pounds of force on your cervical spine. Your neck is designed for that.
Okay, 10, 12 pounds. Seems manageable.
It is. But the moment you tilt your head down to look at your phone, you're using leverage against yourself. The weight doesn't change, but the force on your spine increases dramatically.
How dramatically? What do the numbers say?
The biomechanical data is pretty specific. Tilting your neck forward just 45 degrees, which is a pretty common phone viewing angle.
Yeah, feels normal.
That increases the load on your spine from that natural 10, 12 pounds to around 49 pounds.
49 pounds, that's like 5 times the normal pressure.
Almost exactly. 49 pounds of sustained, unnatural pressure on the vertebrae, the discs, the muscles in your neck. Think about holding like a bowling ball or a small child out at that angle for hours every day.
For potentially 4.5 hours, based on the average usage.
Wow. And the cumulative effect is clear. Orthopedic specialists are seeing huge increases in musculoskeletal issues directly linked to this. The data we reviewed showed that heavy phone users report 46% more neck pain compared to people who use their phones less. Over time, it can even straighten the natural curve of your neck.
Ouch. Okay, so the fix must be about countering that angle, right?
It's the simplest advice, honestly, but maybe the hardest to follow consistently. You have to keep your devices at eye level.
Bring the phone up to your face, not your face down to the phone.
Exactly. If you're sitting, lift the phone. If you're using a laptop, a tablet, get a stand. Prop it up on books. Whatever it takes to maintain that neutral neck posture, it applies to all screens.
Simple physics, but with huge implications for long-term pain. Okay, moving on from the spine. Let's talk about hearing. Earbuds are everywhere.
And this is a really insidious danger because hearing damage is usually cumulative. It builds up slowly, often painlessly, until it's permanent.
So what's the safe limit? How loud is too loud?
Health organizations generally set the safe exposure threshold at 80 decibels, dB, for a maximum of 40 hours per week.
Okay, 80 decibels. What does that sound like in real life?
Think of like a noisy city street, heavy traffic from inside a car, or maybe a loud vacuum cleaner or blender. That's roughly 80 dB.
Right, and most people probably listen louder than that, especially if they're trying to block out noise, like on a commute.
Absolutely. And here's where it gets dangerous fast. The decibel scale isn't linear, it's logarithmic. So a small increase in dB number represents a huge jump in sound energy hitting your ears.
Okay.
So if you go up to just 90 dB, maybe the sound of a lawnmower or a motorcycle nearby, your safe listening time plummets from 40 hours a week down to just 4 hours a week.
Wow, only 4 hours at 90 dB. And what about earbuds? Trying to overcome noise, people crank them up, right?
They do. And if you're hitting 100 dB with your earbuds, which is quite common to drown out, say, subway noise,
Yeah.
you can cause permanent hearing damage in just 15 minutes.
15 minutes. That's terrifying. People listen for way longer than that on their commutes.
Exactly. The reason people turn it up so high is often to overcome that background noise.
Yeah.
Their brain wants clarity, so they crank the volume into dangerous territory. What's happening inside the ear is that excessive sound energy is literally damaging the tiny, delicate hair cells in your cochlea. Those cells transmit sound signals to your brain.
And once they're damaged.
They don't grow back.
Yeah.
Damage is permanent. Hearing loss, tinnitus.
Okay, this makes prevention absolutely critical. What are the concrete steps? Settings, gear?
It's really a two-part strategy. First, you have to use the safety features built into your phone. Go into your settings, both iOS and Android have this Find the Hearing Health section, and enforce an 80 dB maximum volume limit. Hard cap it. Make it physically impossible to go louder.
Okay, set the limit. What's part 2?
Part 2 is about why you turn it up. Invest in and actually use active noise-canceling headphones or earbuds.
Ah, because they tackle the background noise problem directly.
Precisely. By electronically canceling out the ambient noise, the train rumble, the office chatter, the airplane engine, they remove the need to crank up the music volume just to hear it clearly. You can listen comfortably and safely at a much lower decibel level. It eliminates the dangerous impulse.
Makes total sense. Okay, one more physical risk before we shift to the cognitive side. This one's about where we carry our phones, specifically concerning fertility.
Yes, this is a specific warning, mainly aimed at men, about the common habit of keeping the phone in a front pants pocket, right up against the thigh, near the reproductive organs.
And there's actual evidence on this.
There is. We looked at a major meta-analysis, which is basically a study of studies. This one combined the results of 18 separate studies conducted over about a decade, all focused on this link between phone proximity and male fertility factors.
18 studies. Okay, what was the consensus finding?
The collective evidence showed a strong, statistically significant link between close proximity RF, that's radio frequency radiation exposure from the phone, and a measurable decline in male reproductive health indicators. Specifically, the meta-analysis found consistent links to lower sperm motility, which is the ability of sperm to swim properly, and also lower sperm viability, meaning a lower percentage of live, healthy sperm. The concern isn't about massive radiation doses, it's the continuous low-level exposure right next to sensitive tissues.
That sounds quite concerning. Is the fix complicated? Do we need special shielding or something?
Actually, the physics of how RF radiation works offers a very simple and effective solution. The exposure level drops off dramatically with distance. It follows an inverse square law.
Meaning, even a small increase in distance makes a big difference.
A huge difference. You don't need anything fancy. Just increasing the distance by even a few inches significantly reduces the amount of radiation your body absorbs. So the fix is simply behavioral. Change where you carry your phone.
Like a back pocket.
Back pocket, jacket pocket, put it in a bag or briefcase. Just get it away from resting directly against the front of your thigh for hours on end. That small change in habit can drastically cut down that specific exposure risk.
Okay, shifting gears now from the direct physical harms to how this constant connectivity taxes our minds, our ability to think clearly. We mentioned those 200-plus notifications for teens, but really, for all of us, these interruptions aren't just annoying, are they?
No, they're incredibly costly in terms of cognitive resources. Our brains are just fundamentally bad at task switching or context switching. We think we multitask, but we mostly just switch back and forth rapidly and inefficiently.
And there's a specific cost associated with each switch.
There is, and it's one of the most powerful data points we found. Research that tracked people in office environments found that after being interrupted from a focused task, it takes an average of 23 minutes to fully regain that same level of deep concentration.
23 minutes per interruption.
And per interruption. So think about if you get just 3 or 4 non-essential dings or buzzes an hour.
You could spend almost that entire hour just trying to get back on track, never really achieving deep work.
Exactly. You never settle in. Some sources even suggest this constant switching triggers a low-level hum of anxiety because your brain never gets the satisfaction of closing loops. It's always being pulled to the next urgent thing.
It's like attention residue, right? Part of your brain is still stuck on the last thing.
That's the term, yeah. Attention residue. When you switch too fast, part of your cognitive capacity remains focused on the task you just left, meaning you're never bringing 100% to the new task. This constant fractional focus is what kills creativity, complex problem solving, even memory consolidation.
Which makes the solution pretty stark, doesn't it? We have to get ruthless with notifications.
Absolutely non-negotiable. You need to be aggressively minimalist here. The fix has to be eliminating all but critical emergency notifications.
And define critical very, very narrowly.
Extremely narrowly, like immediate time-sensitive messages from your partner or kids may be a critical safety alert system, perhaps one specific truly urgent work channel if your job demands it. Everything else, social media, pings, news alerts, game reminders, promotional stuff has to go. Silence them completely, or at the very least bundle them so you only check them once or twice a day on your schedule.
But, okay, silencing notifications helps with the dings. What about the habit itself? That compulsive checking, even when the phone is silent. The muscle memory of just picking it up.
Yeah, the habit loop. For that, we need to introduce friction. Our brains are inherently lazy. They love the path of least resistance. So if you make the compulsive action, picking up the phone and opening that addictive app slightly more difficult, you give your conscious brain a fighting chance to intervene.
Okay, how do you create friction digitally?
There are apps specifically designed for this. The sources mention tools like Opal or OneSec.
How do they work?
They act as gatekeepers. When you tap on an app you've designated as potentially addictive, like Instagram or Twitter, the blocker app intercepts it. It forces you to wait maybe 5 seconds, maybe 10 seconds, often while displaying a little message asking you to take a breath or confirming you really want to open the app.
So it breaks that instant gratification loop.
Exactly. That tiny delay is often enough for your prefrontal cortex, the rational part of your brain, to catch up and ask, wait, do I really need to do this right now? It disrupts the mindless habit. There are even hardware solutions mentioned, like a physical lockbox called Brick that forces a real timeout before you can access certain apps. Extreme, maybe, but effective friction.
And part of that mindless draw is visual, isn't it? The bright colors, the shiny icons.
Oh, completely intentional. Phone designers and app developers know exactly what they're doing with color. Those bright, saturated colors, especially the red of a notification badge, or the vibrant, flashy colors in games and feeds, are specifically chosen because they trigger dopamine loops in your brain.
Dopamine, the reward chemical.
Right. Red signals urgency, importance. Novel, colorful interfaces provide a little chemical reward just for looking. It makes the digital world seem more stimulating, more appealing, frankly, than the often more neutral tones of the real world around you. It reinforces the cycle. Look at the screen, get a tiny reward, want to look again.
So if the color is part of the addiction mechanism,
then reducing the color should reduce the draw, and the evidence suggests it does.
this is the grayscale mode fix.
Exactly. Switching your phone's display to grayscale. It sounds simple, maybe even trivial, but the research on this is surprisingly compelling because it shows a measurable change in behavior with almost zero effort.
What did the studies find?
Studies where people switch their phones to grayscale, literally just turning off all the color, documented a clear and pretty immediate impact. On average, participants reduced their total phone usage by 11% within just 1 week.
11%. Just from taking the color away? That's significant.
It's a huge return for flipping a single switch in your settings. It doesn't stop you from using your phone for utility tasks, maps, banking, making calls, but it makes the fun stuff, the time-wasting stuff, significantly less appealing. The visual candy is gone.
It turns the phone back into more of a tool, less of a toy.
That's the perfect way to put it.
Okay.
So we've talked about cognitive drain. Now let's talk about how this affects our connections with other people, which brings us to the concept of phubbing.
Phubbing, P-H-U-B-B-I-N-G, phone snubbing.
Right. It's simply the act of paying attention to your phone instead of the person you're actually talking to or supposed to be spending time with. Looking down mid-conversation, scrolling while someone's sharing something.
It's become so common, hasn't it? Almost normalized.
Depressingly so. Many people do it without even thinking. But just because it's common doesn't mean it's harmless. The relational damage is actually quite significant, according to the research.
More than just bad manners.
Much more. Because of what the act signals to the other person. It signals disrespect. It signals that whatever's happening on that small screen is more important, more interesting than the human being right in front of you.
Ouch. Is there data quantifying that damage?
Yes, we looked at a key 2025 study quite recent that specifically measured this. The findings were pretty stark. They found that experiencing phubbing in a relationship reduces overall relationship satisfaction by a measurable 9%.
9% loss in satisfaction just from being phone snubbed. That's actually a huge number in relationship science terms.
It really is. And it wasn't just general satisfaction. The study also found that being phubbed significantly increased feelings of being ignored, unheard, and devalued. And those feelings, in turn, directly fueled more conflict and jealousy within the relationship.
It erodes trust and intimacy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every time you choose the screen over the person, you're making a small withdrawal from the relationship bank account. Do it often enough, and the balance drops significantly.
So if the problem's being present, the solution has to be creating spaces or times where the phone is just not present.
Exactly. The most effective strategy is establishing clear, agreed-upon, non-negotiable phone-free zones or times.
What are the key zones the research highlights?
The sources consistently point to a few critical areas. Number one, the bedroom. Protect sleep, protect intimacy, keep phones out. Number two, the dinner table. Protect conversation, connection, family time. Number three, the car, for obvious safety reasons we'll touch on, but also just to be present with passengers or your own thoughts.
Bedroom, dinner table, car, making those truly phone-free zones.
And enforcing it requires discipline, maybe negotiation with partners or family, but it's crucial for safeguarding the quality of those interactions.
And we also need to mention that weird brain drain thing, right? It's not even using the phone sometimes.
That's such a fascinating finding. Multiple studies have shown that the mere presence of your smartphone, even if it's turned off, face down on the table, completely silent, just having it visible causes a measurable decrease in your available cognitive capacity.
Seriously, just seeing it.
Yeah. The theory is that your brain has to actively expend a little bit of energy, a little bit of executive function, to resist the urge to check it. Even if you succeed in resisting, that effort drains resources you could be using for the conversation or the task at hand. Your brain is slightly hobbled just by the phone being nearby.
Wild. Okay, finally in this section, we have to cover the most immediate life or death consequence of phone distraction. Safety, specifically driving.
Yes. This is where the cost shifts from minutes of focus or relationship points to actual lives. The data on distracted driving, particularly texting while driving, is just terrifyingly clear.
What's the key metric?
Taking your eyes off the road to read or send a text takes, on average, 5 seconds.
5 seconds? That doesn't sound like that long.
At 55 miles per hour, a pretty normal highway speed in those 5 seconds, your car travels the entire length of a football field.
A football field. Blind.
Effectively blindfolded for 100 yards.
Yeah.
You are completely unable to react to brake lights, debris, pedestrians, anything happening on the road ahead of you for the length of a football field.
That visual is incredibly powerful, and it's not just typing out full messages, is it? Even glancing down.
That's critical. The research is clear. Crash risk increases 4 to 6 times with any glance away from the road at your device, not just texting. Checking a notification, fiddling with music, looking at maps on the phone instead of a dash mount. Any glance is dangerous.
So the fixes here aren't suggestions, they're absolute requirements.
Mandatory safety protocols. Because it's not just your life on the line, it's everyone else sharing the road with you.
What are the non-negotiables?
First, you must turn on Do Not Disturb while driving. Modern phones can do this automatically when they sense driving motion or connect to car Bluetooth or systems like CarPlay or Android Auto. Enable it. Customize it so only true emergency contacts might get through, if absolutely necessary.
Okay, automatic, do not disturb. What else?
Second, you have to deal with that brain drain temptation we just talked about. Physically store the phone out of sight and out of easy reach. Put it in the glove compartment, in a bag on the back seat, maybe even the trunk for long drives. If you can see it, if you can easily grab it, the temptation will be there, especially at a red light or in slow traffic. And that temptation is a deadly liability.
All right, we've hit the big physical dangers and the major cognitive and relational costs. Let's zoom in now on some of the maybe less dramatic but still persistent daily issues that come with heavy phone use, starting with our hands.
Yeah, hand health is becoming a much bigger focus in ergonomics.
Yeah.
Specifically, the way most people text primarily using one thumb, usually their dominant one.
Guilty as charged.
Most of us are. But that creates this really asymmetric stress on the thumb joint, the tendons running up the wrist and forearm. It's a classic repetitive strain injury mechanism.
Leading to things like tendonitis.
Exactly. Chronic pain, inflammation, tendonitis. Sometimes people even talk about smartphone pinky from gripping the phone oddly. But the thumb strain is probably the most widespread ergonomic risk from texting itself.
So if we have to type, what's the better way to do it?
Distribute the load. Make a conscious effort to switch to typing with both thumbs. It immediately halves the repetitive strain on either side. It feels awkward at first if you're not used to it, but it's much better ergonomically.
Both thumbs.
Or, even better, use your voice. Voice dictation technology on smartphones is incredibly good now. For most messages, emails, notes, just dictate it. The physical strain drops to practically zero, and it's often faster once you get the hang of it.
Good point. Okay, now for the one that might make people want to immediately scrub their phone down. Hygiene.
Oh yeah. Prepare for the ick factor. We take these devices everywhere. Pockets, purses, tables, desks,
Bathrooms.
definitely bathrooms. And we rarely clean them properly. So the sources consistently cite studies that involve microbial swabs of phone surfaces compared to other surfaces. And the finding is memorable.
Don't hold back.
The average smartphone screen harbors 10 times more bacteria than the average toilet seat.
10 times. Ugh, okay.
Yeah. Think about it. We touch door handles, railings, money, other people, then our phone. Then maybe we eat or touch our face or press the phone right against our cheek to take a call. It's a direct transmission route.
What kind of delightful bacteria are we talking about?
Mostly common environmental bacteria, stuff found on skin and surfaces, things like Staphylococcus, Streptococcus, sometimes E. coli if hygiene habits are poor. Basically a nice little ecosystem of germs.
Okay. Okay, point taken. What's the cleaning protocol? How often? With what?
Needs to be a regular habit, ideally daily or at least every couple of days. The recommended method is a microfiber cloth because it traps dirt well without scratching, lightly dampened with a solution that is 70% isopropyl alcohol.
Why specifically 70% alcohol?
Oh.
Not higher, not lower.
It's the sweet spot. 70% alcohol is highly effective at killing most bacteria and viruses, but it's generally safe for the oleophobic coatings on modern screens that help repel fingerprints. Much higher concentrations, like 90% plus move, can potentially damage that coating over time, making your screen smudgier. And lower concentrations are simply less effective disinfectants. So 70% is the go-to.
Got it.
Yeah.
Microfiber and 70% alcohol daily. Okay, moving from germs on the screen to the strain looking at the screen causes our eyes.
Right. Constant close-up focus is really hard on our eyes. It leads to a collection of symptoms often called computer vision syndrome or digital eye strain. We're talking dry eyes, irritation, blurriness, headaches, even temporary nearsightedness after long sessions.
So what's the fix? Is there an ergonomic rule for our eyes?
There is, and it's incredibly simple and effective. It's called the 20-20-20 rule. Probably the single best preventative habit you can adopt if you spend hours looking at screens.
Okay, 20-20-20. Break it down for us.
It's easy to remember. Every 20 minutes of screen time, you need to look away at something that is at least 20 feet away from you and hold that gaze for at least 20 seconds.
20 minutes, 20 feet, 20 seconds. What's happening biologically when we do that?
When you look at something distant, the tiny ciliary muscles inside your eyes, which control the shape of your lens for focusing, get to relax. When you're staring close up at a screen, those muscles are constantly contracted, working hard. That sustained contraction leads to fatigue, spasm, and strain. The 20-20-20 rule basically forces you to give those muscles a necessary break, allowing them to relax fully before they get overly tired.
Prevents that fatigue and the associated symptoms? Simple, but needs to be a conscious habit.
Absolutely. Set a timer if you need to at first. Look out a window, down a hallway, at a picture on the far wall. Just break that near focus cycle regularly.
Okay, we've covered a ton of problems and a lot of very specific fixes. Red light mode, posture, decibel limits, grayscale, phubbing zones, 20-20-20. How does someone listening actually start putting this into practice without feeling totally overwhelmed? Where's the starting line?
That's a really important question because trying to implement everything at once is probably a recipe for failure. The key, according to the behavioral science in our sources, is incremental change. Don't try to go cold turkey.
So start small.
Start small and specific. Pick one or two things that resonate most or seem easiest to tackle. But a really good structural starting point is to carve out some dedicated phone-free time. Aim for 60 minutes initially.
Like the first hour of the day.
That's a great one. Before you dive into email or social media, or maybe the last hour before bed, building on the sleep hygiene stuff. Or maybe an hour right when you get home from work to decompress screen-free. Just define a 60-minute window and protect it fiercely.
And then build from there.
Exactly. Once that 60 minutes feels comfortable, maybe push it to 90. Or Add another 60-minute block elsewhere. Maybe eventually aim for phone-free half-days on weekends. The goal is to gradually build your tolerance for disconnection and your confidence in managing that separation anxiety.
And to know if you're making progress, you need to track it, right? Like a budget.
Absolutely essential. You can't manage what you don't measure. This is non-negotiable if you're serious about reducing usage. You must start auditing your screen time weekly.
Most phones provide this data now.
They do. Deep in the settings, usually, you need to look at it regularly. Pay attention to two key numbers: the total daily or weekly average screen time, and critically, which specific apps are consuming the most time. Usually it's just 2 or 3 main culprits.
Social media, video games.
Typically, identify your top time sinks, then set a small, achievable goal for the next week. Maybe I'll cut my Instagram time by 15 minutes a day. Track it. Seeing those numbers actually go down provides positive reinforcement and keeps you motivated. It makes the invisible visible.
So wrapping this all up, we keep coming back to that core conflict, don't we? The smartphone holds so much. We value connections, information, work, fun. It makes pulling away feel really difficult, emotionally and practically.
It does. But we have to keep reminding ourselves why it feels so difficult. It's not just us. The addictive engineering is deliberate. It exists for one primary reason from the perspective of the companies creating the platforms and content:
Which is?
to efficiently exchange your limited time and your focused attention for their corporate profit. Every extra minute you spend scrolling, every notification that pulls you back in is a moment monetized. And that monetization comes directly at the expense of your sleep, your ability to focus deeply, your posture, your hearing, and the quality of your face-to-face relationships.
It really is a trade-off, a zero-sum game in many ways.
It fundamentally is. Your attention is the currency.
So the call to action isn't necessarily about throwing your phone away. It's not about becoming a digital hermit.
No, for most people, that's unrealistic. It's about taking back control. It's about shifting from being passively used by the device to actively using it as the tool it's supposed to be, on your own terms.
And achieving that comprehensive well-being, the better sleep, the sharper focus, the richer relationships, it is possible.
Totally possible. But it requires that combination we've hammered home today. Awareness plus small, consistent steps. You need the knowledge of how it's affecting you, and then the discipline to implement these targeted fixes. Switch to grayscale. Set the 80 dB limit. Practice 2020. Defend those phone-free zones.
Thus, small hinges swing big doors.
Exactly. These little daily adjustments, they add up. They compound over time into potentially reclaiming significant chunks of your life. Years, even, as we saw with that initial statistic.
Which brings us to our final thought for you, the listener. Something to chew on after we finish. Building on everything we've discussed, if that average lifetime usage really amounts to 14 years.
14 years.
And if, by implementing just some of these strategies, you could reclaim, say, just 1 hour of truly focused, present, high-quality time each day that was previously lost to the phone, what would you do with that reclaimed time, compounded over months and years?
Think about that extra hour, day after day. 7 extra hours a week, over 350 hours a year. What would you dedicate that found time to? Mastering that skill you've always talked about, investing more deeply in your key relationships, prioritizing your physical health, finally starting that creative project.
Let the potential of those reclaimed hours, those reclaimed years, be the motivation.
Let that be the driver to make these small, consistent changes. Not tomorrow, not next week. Start today. Start right now.